G'day. This is probably going to be the last upload I make to YouTube. That's because it's not the end of the channel. I'm going to continue on other platforms, and I'll put the links below. But in light of recent events, I cannot in good conscience continue to use YouTube and their services. So if you want to keep listening to my videos and watching, you're going to have to follow me on those other channels in the future. Right, now, today I have a topic that is really important. It's about politics, but it's actually mostly about mental health. Even though I'll be talking about politics, it is really about your mental health as a human being. So, there's a perception among the majority of the population that things are not as bad, or not nearly as bad as you might think they are. I mean, sure, there's a pandemic, which some people are saying isn't entirely real, and they've got some arguments for that. Some of them are quite good. And we've also got what looks like a Marxist-Leninist takeover and the fall of the American Republic, but things aren't necessarily that bad. And it's like, well, even if they don't have a government job right now, they still seem to feel confident that a welfare check and some amount of money from the government will arrive, a stimulus package, and things aren't actually that bad. They're not going to lose their home. They're not going to run out of food or anything like that. They can still get by because with that welfare check, they can spend that on buying a new TV. Maybe they can get a Netflix subscription. They're dirt cheap now. And cam girls, you can get some cam girls with that stimulus check, or get some food that's really rich in sugar, something that makes you feel really good in the moment, tastes great. And maybe try the latest sex toy out. Or perhaps just try, if none of those things work, if none of those things make you happy and reassure you that everything's okay, you can just take some fentanyl, made in China. It's really good. I hear they've got a great way of manufacturing it in bulk and shipping it around the world now, so that's another option. It really works well at killing the pain. But if any of those literally limitless options on how to soothe that pain, to numb the anxiety, the existential angst that might be creeping in as the Western Empire is collapsing and degrading and falling down around you, there's still also hope. Hopium. Hopium's a really good one. You can trust one particular man, trust the plan, and it's all going to be fine. It's all going to work out. We're all going to be happy. Because, see, we've become a civilization that cares about feelings. We really, really care about feelings. We treat our feelings like they were people. In fact, our feelings can be hurt, just like people can be. And just like people, if other people hurt our feelings, it's almost like it's a criminal offense. Oh, you've hurt my feelings. How dare you? You now owe me reparations for hurting my feelings, because they're people too, so we indulge in these orgies of food and TV binging and sex and self-righteous outrage, all to satisfy the feelings inside us, to make those feelings feel good. Rather than, actually focus on the things that are actually wrong in the world that we can actually fix or improve. And that's, I can understand why people care about their feelings so much, because, when you do feel good, you do actually feel like you're great, you're fantastic, you're in the zone. That's what happens when you feel good. And when you feel bad, you feel awful, you feel miserable. Life isn't worth living when you feel bad. So I can understand why we want to treat our feelings like a doctor trying to treat a patient. Like, we've got to fix those feelings so that we'll always feel good. Because if we always feel good, then we'll be great people. We'll be fantastic people, because all we need to do is feel good. We don't actually have to be good. Don't have to do good. And that's why we've got this culture now of just think happy thoughts. Just believe the plan. Go with it. If you feel it, it will happen. If you pray, it will happen. If you just hope, if you will it enough, never mind all the things you do that are self-destructive and self-harming and counterproductive. You don't need to change those ways. You can keep all your vices. You can keep all your sins. You can keep doing them. You don't need to stop as long as you feel good. I'm sure that's what every alcoholic says. It's like, well, when I'm drunk, I feel so good. It must be good. Damn the people around me. I don't care what happens to them. I don't care what happens to the whole Western civilization. Well, I'm feeling good in the moment because I've got my Netflix. I've got my food delivered to me 24/7. I feel good. I don't feel the pain. I don't feel the anxiety. I don't feel the stress. The whole world can collapse and I won't even notice because my feelings are being taken care of. And so when people say, oh, it's the left, they're the ones concerned about feelings because you don't want to use the wrong pronouns, it might hurt their feelings. How's the right any different? How are conservatives any different? They're so consumed with their own feelings. Do they not watch the same degenerate stuff? Do they not look after their own feelings? Do they not turn to a superficial God who acts like a great candy maker who gives out lollies to anyone to say, well, I believe in you? Did anyone miss the line that said, you are forgiven, now sin no more? Sin no more. It's not just a free giveaway. You actually need to make changes in your life. You need to change your behavior. It's not all about freebies. But that's what it's become, particularly with the evangelicals, it seems. It seems like they believe that if they just have enough faith in the plan, it's a test of faith for them. If they have more faith, a miracle will happen and everything will be fixed and they don't need to get up from their pews. They don't need to change any of their habits. It's all going to happen. And they'll sit on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter and they'll complain about the censorship of other people while using those platforms. That's the state we're in. It's not like, oh, one side's in the wrong, the other side's okay. It's like a vast sea of people all doing the wrong thing, but simultaneously thinking they're virtuous and that everything is fine and everything's going to work out. Because their feelings are being taken care of. And regarding feeling good, there's actually this really old joke. It's like looking up to the stars. You look up to the heavens and you see with someone else and you say to them, I can imagine a planet out there, a world where there is no war, no famine, no hunger. Because the people, they have no fear, no sadness, no grief, no hatred. They're just happy all the time. And I can imagine us attacking that world because they would never see it happening. Can you see the agenda here? They're trying to entertain you to death. As long as they can feed you with enough entertainment and hedonism and hopium, false hope, you are helpless. You are weak. Because we draw a lot of our strength from our so-called negative emotions. The feeling of despair, grief, anger, hatred. These things are powerful feelings. Powerful in the way they move us. They help us become better people. Imagine if we got rid of grief. How meaningless would life be? Could we value anything? Could we hold anything dear? It's only because of the fear that we might lose something and experience grief that we actually hold on to something and fight for something, that something is meaningful to us. Would you really want to take away grief? So many people do on a daily basis. Just don't think about it. Just trust the plan. Just watch the next series that's on. It's really exciting. And have you seen this cam girl? Oh, amazing. No, we need to feel miserable. We need to feel wretched. We need to feel bad. And sometimes we need to feel guilty. This is a really good time to be feeling guilty. If you have been doing any of these things, it's a good, healthy, noble, virtuous emotion to have. The newest manifestation of this new age idea of just feelings make the world. If you just feel, if you just believe enough, it will make things happen, is the QAnon thing, trust the plan. And that is why I'm actually really glad that Trump has been impeached a second time. I hope he's gone. I hope they impeach him, destroy him, throw him into prison or exile him. Something like that. Just get him out of the way. Because right now, he is the biggest obstacle to us actually moving forward. And I'll give you an explanation of that, and then I'm going to take you about how we can actually fix this without Trump, why we don't need him, in fact, why we're better off without him. When Trump appeared on the scene, politics was depressing. It was really dull, it was miserable. It seemed like all we were doing was circling the drain before everything would fall apart and drown in a world of globalism and communism. But Trump made politics fun again. He made it exciting, he made it interesting, he galvanized and inspired people, and people could get into politics, and there were memes, the most amazing memes. It just, every day, it made Facebook a lot more entertaining, having all these fresh, dank memes coming at us. He also made it a bit like an evangelical church. You should see his rallies, inspiring people, driving them up, getting the passions going, filling them up with hopium. All this buzz, but no bang. No, nothing actually solid. Because what did Trump do when he came to power? He did three things that seemed to really matter to him. The corporate tax cuts, the reduced government regulations, and he stimulated the stock exchange. And these are the three things that probably matter the most to a businessman, to any CEO. And so he did exactly what was most important to him. That is his big achievement, serving himself. Now, he made lots of other election promises, lots of them, but they didn't seem to happen. He made some comments about, I'll stop third world immigration, but then, I'm a champion of DACA. Yeah, Dreamers Act, I'll totally support it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I said I'd build the wall, eventually. I said 6 months, but maybe I'll do it at the last week of my term. I'll fix that wall up. That wasn't a priority for him. That wasn't that important. And people just kept making excuses. They kept making excuses for his selfishness. When he gave it away. Not so much with the bombing of Syria and the killing of the assassination of Soleimani. Those were pretty dire things to do. But the thing that really gave it away is that a lot of people in the alternative media worked very hard to get Trump elected. And at the time, he acknowledged them. He said he loved them. I love WikiLeaks. But then, when push came to shove, he ditched them. He didn't care about them. One by one, they were deplatformed, they were debanked, they were arrested, they were tortured, and he did nothing. Nothing for them. Because, like any kind of ruthless businessman, you just use people. And when they're no longer useful, you dump them, you throw them away, you don't think about them, you can't even remember who they are. And that's what Trump is. But Trump is a really, really good showman. He knows how to get people to believe. He knows how to give them hopium. Because he knows people are so depressed, they don't want to focus on the bad. They don't want to focus on his betrayals. They don't want to focus on the things that he did wrong. But Trump is no different to any other politician in any way. He just upset one group of politicians because they saw themselves as predestined to have all the glory, and he was stealing their glory. And it was just a jealousy issue between two factions of parasites. Now, yeah, okay, I know that might scare a lot of people, but it's funny. I'm just thinking of one of the things that really shook me with Trump was when he chose John Bolton as his Secretary of State. And John Bolton's a psychopath. Everyone knows that. Warmongers have to be psychopaths. If you want to rain death and destruction and murder and misery on another country, you are a psychopath. And so you got John Bolton, who's a champion of the cause of all-out war, total war. And Trump, his explanation for why he chose John Bolton is because every time he goes into a negotiation, the other side are going to assume that he's planning to bomb them because he's got a psychopath next to him by his side. Now, you might think that's a brilliant negotiator. Or you might think, is that a terrorist? Is that actually conducive to harmony and peace in the world? To use fear and terror to get your way? And is it actually a sign of good leadership? Because he's potentially putting himself in a situation where psychopaths can take the mantle and take all the power. And, that's kind of happened because he's been so bad at picking allies. He's been backstabbed. He's just picked a whole lot of psychopaths, which, makes me suspect maybe it takes one to know one, and maybe he feels more comfortable with people more like himself because he picked a lot of people who showed no loyalty to himself or to the country. Well done. That's not good leadership. All in all, Trump was just pure chaos. It was pure chaos. He would champion anything, and that's good negotiation tactic. You be chaotic. You never let people know where you actually stand, because if you have any principles, if you have any scruples, people will be able to predict your actions. They'll say, you'll be honest, you'll do that. And by pretending or showing that giving the impression that you have no scruples, you leave the enemy guessing, going, oh my gosh, what's he going to do? I don't know what to do. And that is a strong negotiating position. But is that leadership? Is that what we want to see in a leader? Because I thought to myself, Trump could really fix he would drain the swamp very easily. If every week he sat down for 1 hour and just recorded a podcast of his thoughts and his experiences of the week, and this is what happened, I had to deal with this problem, this is what they're trying to do, and this is why I did this action, why I bombed that country, why I vetoed that bill, blah, blah, blah. If he just spoke to the people, just for 1 hour each week to fill them in on what's actually happening behind the scenes, there wouldn't be chaos. Everyone would know what was happening. You wouldn't even dream of saying trust the plan, because you'd know the plan, you'd understand. And you could have faith that there was good leadership, because you could trust them. But there's been zero transparency. In fact, Trump's presidency has been one of the most opaque and difficult to read ever. I haven't liked previous administrations because they've basically gone, we're going to bomb them, we're going to kill them, we're going to impose our will on them, we're going to overthrow their governments. They say it openly. And they're horrible things, but they say it openly at least. But with Trump, he never said it openly. You could never tell what he was going to do next. And so I was like, wow, this isn't progress. This is the next step of madness coming along. A lot of people were sucked into QAnon when there was huge amounts of evidence that it was all fake, that it was a psyop. Because the people who were pushing it kept making these predictions, and none of them would come true. None of them. Hillary Clinton. Oh, yeah, she was arrested. No, she wasn't. Never happened. And there's ankle bracelets. Never happened. There's going to be mass arrests. Never happened. They've got this special crypto code on all the ballots. Biggest sting operation ever. Never happened. There's so much evidence it's fake. And yet people keep believing it. They keep holding on to it. Because, if we just wish it will happen. Now, the most obvious thing about why QAnon was fake is that the people who were presenting it were making these big claims. And you could say they were incitement to insurrection, but they were never taken off. They were never deplatformed, they were never debanked. In fact, a lot of the time they actually started to trend quite highly on a number of platforms, and then they'll knock them down a bit, but they didn't ban them and get rid of them. And that's the dead giveaway that these are all fake, that this is just fake opposition. And it's a psyop there to manipulate you. Now, the whole purpose of this psyop, though, is to give you hope, false hope, hopium. Because it will get you nice and drunk. And when you're drunk, you're in a very vulnerable, helpless state because you won't be doing things. You won't be acting out. You'll be sitting back going, the madman, he's done it. He's going to solve all our problems. We're saved. I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit back and enjoy the memes. The truth is, though, they don't want you to feel despair, anger, and hatred. They don't want you to feel any of those things. They don't want you to feel sad. Because the moment you start to feel those feelings, you will start to feel powerful. You'll start to feel, I've got to do something about this. I've got to act. I've got to be an actor in the world, an agent in the world, someone who can make the world a better place. But as long as you're just sitting back there relaxed going, it's all sorted, I don't need to do anything, I can just relax and watch the TV, they've got you exactly where they want you. Because they are full of despair. They are full of sadness, misery. They're full of anger, and they are full of hatred, unbelievable hatred, and it fuels them. They draw so much strength from that hatred of us. And they don't want you to have any of that. And so they tell you all the time, don't feel those things. Don't feel those horrible bad feelings. They're bad feelings, don't feel them. We don't want you to feel them. Because you might be a threat. You might actually oppose us. You might do something. And that's where we're at. This is bad faith. Bad faith is really dangerous. Having faith in a false idol is very dangerous. It will paralyze you, weaken you, and destroy you. And in fact, it can destroy your whole civilization. And that's what it's doing. Stop believing in the goodness of great leaders. Stop believing in altruism of other people who don't even know you, don't even care about you, who just want to use you, who are benefiting from you. And start believing in the good of yourself, that you're actually a good person, and that you can do good for the world. This belief that you need someone to rescue you, that you need a higher power to lift you up, is from an abusive childhood. It's in a very abusive dynamic. At some point you weren't protected when you needed to be by your parents or the guardians whose job was actually to protect you. And you were hurt, you were abused, you were exploited, you were violated. And instead of being angry and rejecting the people who were supposed to protect you and didn't protect you, you kind of go, oh no, they did it because they actually care about me. They abused me, they let me be hurt because they care about me. It's actually really that they love me, but they're just showing the love in a more complicated way. And that rationale is just how a child tries to make sense of the world. They don't actually really believe it. Deep down, they don't believe it. But it's comforting to think that an abusive parent actually does care when they don't. Or it might be just safer to pretend that you believe that they care when they don't, because challenging them might bring on more punishment. And so we've got this really strange, if you've got this abusive mindset in your mind, or got this idea in your head where you can justify bad activities as like they really do care, like Trump's lying and his failure to act and keep his promises. No, he's actually a really good person. He does really care about us, even though he's broken his promises. Facebook cares about me, even though they've broken their promises. The whole YouTube do, and Twitter cares, even though they've broken promises. It's everyone. You just keep trusting people who keep slapping you in the face over and over again. And that's because of the abuse. You've had an experience of abuse and you've patterned that as being healthy. You think that's healthy. It's not. It's wrong. And you should be angry. You should be mad. And you should feel grief. You should feel a lot of grief for what was done to you. It wasn't fair. But you've got to break that pattern. You've got to grow up. You've got to be an adult. And you've got to take responsibility for yourself and take care of yourself. You can't live in that weird, warped world of worshipping the person abusing you. And so, what can we do? How can we fix our situation? Well, the first thing you've got to do is stop. You've got to stop using Facebook. You've got to stop using YouTube. This is why this is going to be my last video. You've got to stop using Apple products, Twitter and Microsoft. You've got to, maybe you can't do it today, but you've got to start making plans on how you're going to do it. Like I'm planning to use a Linux phone in the future. I'm going to find a way to not have to use the very people who are abusing me. To stop funding them. And these days, I'm very careful when I'm buying food. What country does this come from? Was it made in Australia? Fantastic. Not Australia? Oh, but it's Italy, or it's Russia, or it's America. Okay, I'll buy that one. But China, see now, the country that's financing a lot of terrorism in the world, political oppression, I don't think I'll buy their product anymore. And yet, how many people do? How many people do that? They don't even think about where the place is coming from, but you're actually buying your own enslavement when you do these things. Stop spending money on businesses that are on groups that are trying to enslave you. Stop donating to them. Have you ever thought about homeschooling? Because they're brainwashing your children. They're teaching your children to snitch on you, to betray you, to take hormones that are really bad for them. Take them out of school. Stop that indoctrination. Stop that brainwashing. Raise them yourself. Have a good relationship with your child. Be there for them like your parents weren't there for you. Stop going to university. Why are these people going to university? These are just institutions for brainwashing people into cultural Marxism. And they go there to learn to hate themselves and society through critical theory and all that rubbish. And you're paying thousands, tens of thousands, millions, billions of dollars to fund the revolution to disenfranchise you. Stop it! There's no point to going to university. They don't even teach you anything anymore except how to hate yourself. It's a simple thing everyone can do. You can just go to someone who's thinking about going to university college, like going, have you really thought about this? Do you really need to? Is it a good idea to be in debt for this? Other thing might be, like Marxist leftists, they don't hire conservatives. Maybe if you run a conservative business, stop hiring liberals. It's as simple as that. You go, oh, that's against the law. And it's like, well, they do it. They do it anyway. They don't care. Why should you care? Just hire the people, your own people. Don't hire other people. Don't hire the outsiders. Hire people who actually support your views, reinforce your views, will stand by you, who are loyal to you. It's a really simple thing. Don't keep people as friends who are constantly putting you down or attacking you and your culture. Stop it. And it's really quite tragic because all these people, because they pegged their hopes on Trump, they've lost 4 years. Maybe more. They've lost more than 4 years of their lives that they could have done this. Can you imagine? 4 years ago, everyone dumped Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. They just said, no, I'm sick and tired of your censorship then. And the censorship was small back then. I said, I'm sick of it then. Do you think they would have done all this stuff in this election? Do you think would they have even existed if people had drawn the line then? Well, you didn't draw the line, and Trump didn't draw the line. He didn't start getting concerned about censorship until it personally affected him. And then he suddenly cared. All his allies have been slaughtered, deplatformed, debanked, and forced into the streets, into obscurity and hunger and poverty. And then when it affects him, that's when he cares. When he's affected. Oh God, it's bad. It's really bad, and you've got to get off that hopium. You've got to stop pegging your faith in people who don't deserve it. The only person who deserves your full attention, your full focus, and your care is yourself. Look out for yourself. Take care of yourself. Make sure you have a healthy place to live, healthy relationships with people. And this is where I hope Trump's gone, because if he's gone, you won't have all these people going, he'll get in next time in 2024, we'll win the 2022 election. The rig elections, they're never going to be fair elections ever again, so give up on that one. That's silly. That's nuts if you think they're going to let you have a fair election later on after getting away with this. You've got to do things. You've got to join Gab, join BitChute, join Rumble, stop buying Microsoft, Google, and be prepared. Like, stock up on food, homeschool your children, and be ready and act virtuously. But yeah, you can't live in this world where other people are going to save you. You need to save yourself. And that's all there is to it. You can't rely on other people, and you can't afford to sit back. Like, another great thing is that if Trump's gone, it's going to hollow out the middle. The so-called moderates who are meant to be so good. What are moderates? Moderates are people who are completely disengaged from the world. They don't care what happens to other people. A person who is not involved in politics doesn't care if the whole world goes to hell as long as they've still got their porn. That's all they care about. So we want to see this hollowing of the middle. We want them all gone because they don't care about anything. They're nihilists. They're hedonists. They're not the ballast that keeps society together. They're the weight that drowns us. So that's another good thing. let them be gone, because they have got a lot of issues, and they need to sort them out. And they're not going to sort them out until they suffer. They really suffer. And that's where suffering, we used to say suffering's good for the soul. It is damn good for the soul. And those people, they need to suffer, and it's good that they suffer. Anyway, that's all. I hope I get to see you on the new platforms. Until next time, Prospera ad Astra.